So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chestnut TAG and an opportunity to learn about one particularly exciting program here. My name is Chris Gabrielli, and I am in many ways the least qualified person to speak, which is why I'm going first. I am, don't laugh too hard. Those are two of my colleagues who you know much better, the mayor and the superintendent of schools here, and fellow members of the Springfield Empowerment Zone Partnership Board. The goal today is to allow folks to get a sense of one of the exciting things that's going on in Springfield Public Schools as part of the partnership we're all working on together that is, particular here to Chestnut TAG and to their partnership with the folks at Teach to One. It's something that one of the goals of the partnership of the zone overall is to give these principals who have with their teacher leadership teams the autonomy to make decisions about what's the best way to move forward and help students. And I'm sure the Principal O'Connor is going to talk about her decision to do this. It was a bold decision. It was the kind of opportunity I think Superintendent Warwick and Mayor Sarno and I and everyone else involved wanted schools to feel they had the room to take a risk and try something really different. And Teach to One's a really interesting approach. We were glad to hear that the young lady from the 6th grade, I'm blanking on her name. What was her name? Anura, thank you very much. Likes it. So that got us excited. Of course, I'm not sure anyone who was allowed to be a guide who didn't, but we have certainly seen elsewhere in the country, and I think you'll probably hear more about it today, really preliminary signs that this is something that can really help. And one of the things I want to highlight that I love about it is, we talk about empowerment. I feel like anytime students are making their own, taking their own paths, and these are two of the students who are probably going to talk to us about it, taking their own paths each day with what they're doing in the classroom. I think that empowers them in ways that often schools don't feel like they do. I know from talking to the math faculty here how experienced math teachers are excited about what this means, as well as new math teachers are excited about what it means to them in terms of what they do as professionals, and they made the decision along with the principal to go ahead and do this. So this notion that schools can really find their way forward to approaches that can be powerful for students, successful for teachers, and ultimately really serve our community well is what the zone is meant to help enable. We're just about setting conditions. It all comes down to how those are used. And so with no further ado, I want to turn it over to the person who chose, in this case, to use it. Forest Park's also doing some really exciting work with Teach to One. I don't mean to not mention them, but this is one of their exciting things here at Colleen O'Connor School. And why don't you come up and tell us what's actually going on?
Thank you, Mr. Gabrielli. I'm excited to have everyone here, especially Mayor Sarno and Superintendent Warwick. And in a little bit, our students, you'll hear from their own voices, and we'll get to see some time in the classroom of what this program looks like. But I want to just back up for a second. I'm excited to talk about some of the ways in which we're learning at Chestnut TAG, because this is an accelerated middle school. This is a place where conceivably high-achieving students come, and yet we still, like every school, have a wide range of students in terms of academic performance, ability, how well students score on high-stakes assessments. So we still have the same challenge that all schools do, which is how do I reach students that are extremely high performing, and how do I reach students who maybe need some help with language acquisition or are struggling in different content areas. In math specifically, we had such a range of student performance. The traditional math teacher, is one person with a group of ideally 20 students or less. And yet there's just still one teacher and 20 students. And no matter how well we monitor and no matter how well we improve our instructional pedagogy, we still find that we weren't reaching the kids as well as we wanted to. We were looking at our student growth percentage and finding that while our students were performing high in terms of score, their growth was not at the rate that we wanted it to be, and it wasn't at the rate of some of their peers across the state. And it was really important for us to do more. And so Teach to One was introduced to me as a potential curricular choice. And initially I was a little overwhelmed because it was such a radically different way of looking at math instruction. You will see when we visit classrooms that students really are being taught math on an individual basis. So each day, students receive instruction in a variety of different ways, some in ways that look traditional and some that look less traditional. But at the end of every class, they take an exit ticket that gives them data on where they are today. And all of that data, along with their assessments, gives us real-time, everyday data that helps us figure out what do Tandy and Ashley need today in math class. And I'm not going to steal your thunder because I know they can talk about why they like that and the challenges of that. But now I know that I'm pushing Tandy right where he is, that he's not being held back by a student that's maybe behind him, and he's also not being rushed ahead and missing important foundational skills. So the teachers and I made this decision absolutely together. I wanted to make sure they felt it was the right thing. The new classroom staff could tell you that we were critical consumers and asked them a lot of really hard questions. But ultimately, I have an awesome group of 4 math teachers that lifted this very swiftly off the ground with full implementation, and it's going really well. So I want to just show you a little bit of data because I feel as though it's going well. I see a high engagement. I see students who are really focused in class, and I see them get to their exit ticket and they want to do well. So I feel it's going well, but of course we need more indicators than a good feeling, right? So if you look at, this is some data from our MAP assessment, and it gives us a sense of where kids are nationally. If you look at the 6th grade, we're a little lower than the national average for expected growth, but in the 7th grade, we're 1.5 times and 2.2 in the 8th grade. And on average, overall as a school, our growth is up tremendously. And if you looked at our MAP scores last year, you wouldn't have seen this kind of growth. So we're hopeful that the growth on the MAP assessment will give us a good indication of where we'll be when they take the state assessment in the spring. So this makes me sleep better at night. This makes me have a lot more confidence. And in a little while, you get to hear from the voices of students, and you'll get to see the classroom. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Mayor Sarno. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Thank you.
Listen, Principal O'Connor, she's a sharp dresser. Look at those nice two-tone shoes. She looks great. And to Ashley and Tandy, to all escorts, thank you. And I can't wait to hear from both of you, too. And sometimes I get a little butterflies in my stomach, too, but then it challenges adrenaline, so I know you're going to knock it out of the ballpark. Head, heart, and gut. To Chairman Gabrielli, in his DNA, it's about kids and education. And we deeply appreciate, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Gabrielli, Chris, Matt, and the rest of the team, the belief and investment that you continue to put in our city of Springfield, and especially our kids with the Empowerment Zone. And I'm happy to say and proud to say that Governor Baker has highlighted the city of Springfield. Oh, geez, I'm late for class. Can I get a pass? Has highlighted the city of Springfield as being a shining light with the Empowerment Zone and looking to model that throughout the Commonwealth of what we do very well in our public system and having the flexibility of a charter system. So again, let's give a big round of applause to Mr. Gabrielli and his team. Empowerment, appreciate that. Principal O'Connor, thank you for welcoming us to your home. The school looks fantastic, and thank you for all your efforts. The superintendent, our homegrown superintendent, Danny Warwick, who tremendous leadership with his team. Again, some statistics just came out, and we're leading the way with the state. Our graduation rate is really shooting up there. We're almost to 70% now. Our dropout rate has dropped tremendously. Our scores are going up. So we believe in you kids. And we want you to believe in yourselves moving forward. I'm glad that members of the media are here, and Jordan Grice from Mass Live, and Mike Dobbs from The Reminder, and John Abbott, my focus, Springfield, because we have to continue to get this word out and this personalized education training on math. Now, I know you kids want to make some money. Am I right? A little jing in your pocket, right? So what better way to do that is through education. So when you make that money, you're not only able to count that money, you're able to invest that money properly to make it even more and then give back to our community. So I think this is really cutting edge, and we're not only leading here in the Commonwealth, we're leading in the nation. We have great philanthropic partnership. Davis Foundation, I know Mary Wallachie is here. So no matter what you might hear at times from the naysayers and this age of reality TV, which I know you kids love, but I hate because it highlights negativity. I'm definitely late now. I need a pass. It highlights the negativity, especially of our young people. There's plenty of good going on here in the city of Springfield, and we need to make sure we continue to get that message out as we continue to excel and continue to conquer our urban challenges. So to everybody involved, to each and every one of you, thank you for your continued teachers. Thank you for your continued belief and investment in our kids. I don't envy what you do, but I respect what you do. And with that, let's put our hands together for our superintendent, Dan Warwick.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a great pleasure working for our mayor, the people's mayor, Dominic Sarno. I call him the education mayor, because every time I go to the mayor for support, he's there for us in every way. We've had over $500 million worth of projects with MSBA improving the schools throughout the city. And at the end of the day, you work hard, but the mayor's got to come up with the bonding to do that. And in a very, very tough budget, the mayor's prioritized education. And we've got some exciting projects here in the North End with a new Brightwood and hopefully a new Lincoln School also coming here in the North End. So, when you have a school department where the average building's 55 years old, but here in the North End, where Brightwood School was built in 1898. And we're building a new Brightwood School. So, and we're moving forward in Mason Square with DeBerry and Homer Street schools. So we're really putting our money where our mouth is. But at the end of the day, every time we've gone to the mayor for bonding and support for education, he's been there for us. So I just want to thank the mayor publicly for that. He's been great. Want to recognize Chris Gabrielli, Matt Matera, and the team from Empower Schools. They've been great partners in the innovation that's gone on in the city of Springfield. And it was nice to see that in the governor's State of the State, Empower Schools and what we're doing here in Springfield was a key piece to that whole piece, because we all know the urban challenges with education are significant, and we have to come up with innovative new ways to attack these challenges. And it's been a real pleasure to work with Chris Gabrielli and Matt Matera and the folks from Empower Schools to take on these challenges and come up with some creative solutions. And I think that's where you get to teach to one math. Being a former special education teacher, we always talked about individualization, differentiation. But when you're one teacher in a class, there's only so much you can do unless you have the kind of technology that's involved with the Teach to One program. So having gone in these classrooms, see the kids getting immediate feedback, everything's individualized to meet their needs. It's just a perfect solution, and then getting immediate feedback and every day getting a report as to how they're doing so they can be accountable for their own learning. This is really a great innovative program, and this is an example of what Empower Schools has brought to Springfield. Bringing in this, there was some innovation. We needed some extra financial support for this program, and there was some financial support. The autonomy, like Chris said, for every school to make these decisions. We didn't bring in Teach to One across every school in the Empowerment Zone. We had a few schools step forward and say, and this would really meet our needs. And those principals bought in, and that where you have that buy-in at the school level, and then the chance to innovate, you can see the great things that are happening. Having been in those classes several times, just very impressed with what's going on. The teacher buy-in is key, and the teachers absolutely love this program because it's great for our kids. Colleen's just done a great job here at Chestnut, incredible. Where you have a school moving forward in an urban center, you have a great principal. And Colleen has produced the results. When you look at the MAP test results, the interim assessments we give, very, very encouraging, the results from the Teach to One program. So I'm very encouraged with what I see going on here. Another thing you see, we have teacher attendance sky high in improving in a school, you know you have the right culture and climate. And autonomy helps bring that about, but principal leadership also does. So I just want to thank Colleen for great work bringing this program and moving the needle here at Chestnut and making a difference. So I think when you look in the urban schools, we have our challenges, but here in Springfield, I think, with the results this week, our decrease in the dropout rate is the largest in the state, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And during the last 5 years, we've cut it in half, less than half. So we're really pleased with that. So we've got our challenges, but we're moving forward. And again, I just thank Empower Schools because they've been a great partner in this endeavor. And they're here every day for us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, can I move this down? Well, I'll just stand back. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Shalay Carter, and I'm one of the teachers here at Chestnut for the Teach to One program. And so I'm just going to be talking a little bit about what you'll see and what the program is like on a daily basis for students. So Teach to One is a holistic learning model, which you've probably picked up from all the comments that have been said thus far. And it integrates complex operations. I added the word complex to this slide because after getting data from 100 sixth grade students at the end of my math class, it would take me a really long time to appropriately group them every single day. And so I'm thankful for a program like Teach to One that does the complex work of creating groups for our students. It also integrates a strong academic design, so there are multiple modalities. I'm going to be talking about those modalities in a little bit for student learning and also assessment and instruction. So I'm really pushed as a teacher in the way I think about assessment and also in the way that I think about how I'm bringing my instruction game to students. Also technology and data. This allows me, or this component of the program allows me to ask as a teacher, how many times has a student been exposed to a particular skill, and how should I think about that as I'm going in to plan my lesson, so that I can do what I need to do to fill in the gaps that they may have. If this is, for example, the second time they've been in a particular skill, I want to be really data-driven about how I get at those misunderstandings. And then again, I would just reiterate, teachers don't have to do the hard work of some of these complex operations, and so I'm thankful for a program like Teach to One to be able to do that with the integrative technology. So now I'll talk a little bit about the day in the life of a student. So a student is a Teach to One student preparing to come to their math advisory, or here we've renamed that their math squad because we have an advisory session already. So they come into the math squad or math advisory and other Teach to One locations, and this is the spot where they gather their materials, they get organized for the day, and also are able to look at their schedule. So you see students have computers in front of them, they are looking up their schedule for the day, and they'll have about 2 sessions on average. Today, Mondays and Fridays, we have 1 session, but Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, students have a double Teach to One math session. So they'll go to that first session, and you can see in the picture, this is a teacher-led session, what we call a live investigation. So the student has the opportunity to work with a teacher in a more traditional setting in this type of classroom. Here, you can see that students are working in small groups with one another. So this is another modality, the collaborative modality, where students may be working to solve a particular problem or working to answer particular questions about a skill, or they may be tutoring each other in a particular collaborative modality that we run through Teach to One. And then after those 2 sessions, students immediately do an assessment, a 4 or 5 question assessment that lets us know how they're doing with that skill. If they pass that assessment, they will move on to the next skill for the next day. The Teach to One system brings that or collects that data and knows where to appropriately move them. And if a student doesn't pass that exit ticket or that assessment right at the end of class, we know to keep them on that same skill and make sure they either are learning it in a different way. So maybe they learned it with a teacher, and now they will, and the next day they'll be doing the same skill in independent learning session. And then we get all that information right after the student leaves, and we plan for the next day. And so this is just a slide that talks a little bit about how the cohorts that we have at Chestnut TAG. So you will be seeing 6th grade. We have 83 students, 3 teachers and 1 team educator. And so there are 4 different spaces that you see in 7th grade. And all 7th graders will be in the math lab at the same time. Additionally, we have the teacher-led modality that I mentioned before. So that happens through a variety of ways, the live investigation. We also have a modality called task. Collaborative learning, so small group collaboration where students are doing the problem-solving activities with one another, or they're tutoring one another. And then also independent instruction. So this is where students are on the computer working independently, and they may be working on a website like Khan Academy or Learn Zillion in order to reinforce or get first-time instruction on a skill. And so what you'll be looking for when you move throughout the math center is the organization of the room. There are particular organizational features that we have in the math lab in order to make the space really work for students. So some classes are bigger, some are smaller for smaller classes. You also will notice different interactions from teachers based on the type of modality that they are facilitating. So in a teacher-led lesson, you will probably see the teacher at the front or moving around the room to help students work on material. In a collaborative zone, you may see the teacher step in for a little bit and then move quickly around to different groups so that they can answer any or address any misconceptions or answer any questions. And in the independent learning zone, where students are working individually on the computer, you may see a teacher pull students to work with them because they're able to tell through the portal that they're on their last try for a skill, and that you may want to work with them to make sure they can pass the exit ticket for that particular time. Or you may just see them working with 2 students at a time, conferencing with 2 students at a time if they're working on the same skill. And yeah, thank you all so much for being here. We have our students. Come up. Yes. Both come.
All right, kid.
Candy, you want to go first?
Ladies first. She's saying not in this case. Let Candy go first.
So I'll be sharing, I'll ask you questions, right? So, Tandy, can you tell me what you like about Teach to One, and in particular, compare your experience the last year?
I like how it's like tailored for me specifically, and how it's like if I'm like not understanding something, it'll keep me back for it if I don't pass the exit step. But then like last year, if I did understand something, it would like I'd have to stay back because maybe someone else didn't understand it. But then with this, if I do understand it, I can just move on, and if I don't understand it, I'll stay back with it, and I won't like interrupt anyone else's.
Ashley, you want to jump in? Sure. Same question. What do you like about Teach to One, and how does that compare to last year?
Something I like about Teach to One is, like Tandy said, like students can move at their own pace and they don't have to be held back because others aren't understanding. Everyone can go through their skills, and if they're not passing, they can be held back so they can have a better understanding.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this next question goes to both of you again. What do you struggle with in Teach to One?
Nothing, that's good.
I can't really think of anything.
That's good.
What do you find hard about, like, are there ways in which you're challenged with this that you weren't challenged before?
Well, like sometimes, like if you get virtual instruction, there's sometimes like the video, because there's usually a video with virtual instruction. If you get a video, sometimes the person won't explain it very well, so then you just have to ask the teacher and stuff, and then the video is pretty much just useless because they didn't explain it well. So
Okay, so then you rely on working and conferencing with
Yeah.
the teacher. Okay.
Okay. I don't really struggle with anything in Teach to One, but like something that I might change, maybe the homework assignments, because I would like it if students could get a weekly packet that Teach to One could print, or a daily sheet that Teach to One could print based off of the skills that a student has worked on that day, so they can reinforce it when they're doing their homework.
So what's happening now? What do you get now?
We get weekly packets that we have to complete by the end of the week that we have to do and then turn in.
And are there problems like?
Sometimes they're based off of what you're doing that week, and other times they're mixed up of skills that you've learned before, or maybe skills that you haven't learned before. So yeah.
So a daily packet. All right. Anything you would change in TTO, Tandy?
well, it's not really like Power School where like you can see your grades. It's not really connected to that very well. So because you have to like ask the teacher at like certain times so that they're not busy. So like you'd have to ask the teacher what your grade is. So if it was connected to Power School, that would be useful.
Okay. Okay, great. Any advice about being successful with this program if other 7th graders are doing it?
Take notes, study before your tests.
Yeah, the demo prep's important. So just study before that.
What's the difference?
Oh, it's like so. On our there's like a wheel of the skills that you're gonna learn for a certain time frame, and then the demo prep will give you 4 skills that'll be on a test-like thing. It's like an exit slip, but it has like 16 to 20 questions, and then you'll have to do that, and it'll tell you how you did on each of those skills, and so that's pretty important because it's a good part of your grade. So you should study for that.
Okay. All right, anything else you want to say? Good.
Very impressive. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Hey, thanks for Focus Springfield for being here, John Abbott and the camera crew. We appreciate it very much on the good things that are happening here in the city of Springfield. And today we're here at Chestnut Middle School, TAG School, Principal Colleen O'Connor. This is the Empowerment Zone. I'm very thankful to Chris Gabrielli and team, and also to Governor Baker, who has highlighted the city of Springfield on the Empowerment Zone as an example of what we do well in the public system, with a mix of flexibility of the charter system, and of course to our homegrown superintendent, Dan Warwick. This is a personalized teaching, especially when it comes to math. You heard from the students, Ashley and Tandy, and they were so impressive. They did an excellent job here. A lot of good news coming out of the city of Springfield, not only with economic development and public safety, but in our schools. And with our graduation rate continuing to get up to about 70%, higher increases than the state. Dropout rate, we've halved that, and that's been tremendous in leading the state way for an urban center. But this here, through Superintendent Warwick and our dedicated teachers and the staff, has really, kids have gotten engaged and know that we believe in them and we want them to believe in themselves. But I can't say enough about the direction of our school system under the leadership of Superintendent Warwick moving forward. And now I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Warwick, who can give you all the nuts and bolts of this great personalized teaching math program down here at Chestnut TAG. Talented and gifted students, Principal Colleen O'Connor and crew. So with that, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Dan Warwick.
A great pleasure to be here today. This Teach to One math program was a program that I was very excited about and had read a lot about and wanted to bring into the city of Springfield. And I was talking to Chris Gabrielli, and Colleen and her team wanted to take a look at it here at Chestnut TAG School. So I was really excited about the opportunity to individualize, differentiate We always wanted to do that more as teachers, but without the technology, weren't able to do it. This program is outstanding. It's giving kids immediate feedback. It's designed and tailored to their individual needs, more than a teacher could do without the technology. I think there's an investment that it takes to bring this program forward. I think Empower Schools has been a great partner with the City of Springfield, and they helped us get some philanthropic support for this program because it's a very costly program. So we'd like to bring it, we'd like to expand it in the City of Springfield, but we'll go as far as the resources carry us. I think what we've tried to do is we have a one-to-one computer initiative in the City of Springfield for grades 3 to 12. We're the only urban center in the state that's done that. So it's going to give us the opportunity in every classroom to individualize and differentiate in every subject more than we've been able to do in the past. And kids really, the engagement goes up considerably. And when you go to these rooms today, you're going to see the student engagement is outstanding. The immediate feedback's outstanding. And when you look at the MAP testing, and Colleen, the principal here, and when you have a great school, you have a great principal. Colleen's really on top of the academics and really watching the interim assessment results. And in this program, they're outstanding. Now, these programs aren't teacher-proof. You have to have teachers that want to buy in excellent teaching. And Colleen has really worked hard at improving the quality of the teaching here at the school. So with great teaching in this program, we know our kids are going to continue to move forward on the assessments. So we're looking at our student achievement levels. And our student achievement levels, like all urban centers, are a challenge. But our increases over the last 5 years have been far superior to that what's occurred across the rest of the state. So we're moving the things forward with a lot of different innovative programs, whether it's reading recovery at the early elementary grades or Teach to One math or our one-to-one computer initiative. We're constantly looking for innovative strategies to improve student learning.
In the first year, the Empowerment Zone really supported us a great deal, first in bringing the model to me for consideration, but also once we realized this was a great match for our school and especially a great match for students in an accelerated learning environment, that it was going to meet the needs of kids on the higher end and kids who needed more math support, we just felt we had to make it happen. So with some philanthropic support, we were able to make this happen. So it, part of it was paid out of my budget, but it was also a good amount of outside support. The first year is expensive. The startup costs, the materials, the coaching, a lot of things we need were expensive. But each year, it's definitely more affordable for us. It doesn't require extra teachers. What we have to do is get really creative. So yes, in the classroom it requires, if a teacher's teaching a whole, a live investigation we call it, but like a whole group lesson, there might be students in the back of the room who are working independently. And so those students need another adult to be supervising and supporting them. But it doesn't require that we hire new staff. It just requires that we use the staff we have in the building well. So where a teacher has an extra prep period during the day and they have strong math background, they can support. So it just requires a lot of creative scheduling and problem solution. Well, I'm a big believer that I don't make decisions at my staff, I make them with them. So I'm a believer that if you give folks all the information and we make the decision as a team, and they have stronger math content knowledge than I do, that's their background. And so we spent a lot of time as critical consumers really looking at the product, looking at what the coaching was going to be involved, what was the IT support, whether we had the bandwidth to support it. I mean, we did a lot of thinking, and then ultimately what it came down to was when you have one teacher and 20 students in the room, you can never monitor and support them individually the way you can in this program. And the teachers were nervous about lifting this off the ground so quickly because it was a radically different way of approaching planning and teaching. But I have four awesome math teachers. So they're competitive, they want to do well, they want to be the best, and so they made it happen. Well, I think that, when you're the leader of a school or an organization, you try to recruit like-minded people, right? So I think in our school we have a really nice blend, a variety, a very diverse group of teachers, but a number of people that are highly competitive, want to be highly successful, and we want to be the best. We're just, we're always sort of wanting to outperform ourselves and other schools. We don't want to just be one of the better schools in Springfield. We want to be one of the best schools in the state. So, I mean, that's sort of always what we're reaching for. And this program has really raised our level of performance. So, yeah, so, I mean, from the beginning of the year, when we had our open house, we had parents come in and really see. There's New Classrooms provide some great videos that really help everyone just break down how is this different, what does it look like, and so there were some videos we could show parents right from the start. We sent a lot of information home. We also did like a scavenger hunt with Teach to One, so that the student could sit at a computer with their parent when they were here or at home and go through and sort of look for certain things within the program so the parents could become familiar with its capability. So at the end of, we don't get our state assessment data until June or July. At that point, we can start combing through and seeing where kids are. Our students perform very high against their peers across the state, but their rate of growth, of improvement, was not at that of their peers across the state. And that's what we really wanted to improve, student by student, where a student starts. So, even our highest achiever in the building, we want him to be higher than one of his peers that's there in the beginning of the year. And so that was the part of our data that we wanted to improve. And what you saw today in the slides that we showed, we have great early indicators that they are vastly going to outperform their peers by the end of this school year.
Sure, absolutely. I certainly wouldn't want to take credit for any implementation, but I'm excited that the Springfield Empowerment Zone approach has really given this school the opportunity to go after something where the educators here realize that the students were not doing as well as they would like in math, despite having good instructors and so forth. And this is just a leap into the 21st century. If you go and see the classrooms and you see students each day coming in and through a software mechanism that's updated every night, they are assigned a different program depending on exactly where they are academically. There are kids 2 or 3 grades ahead of where their age, and there are kids 2 or 3 grades behind. Some kids are getting a lecture, some kids are getting individual help, most kids are spending a lot of time on software where they're developing their skills. So it's very impressive. Underneath that, you have to have the software algorithm that this entity called Teach to One, a nonprofit, has developed and is deployed in 38 schools. And Chestnut TAG is one of 3 in Massachusetts, 2 here in Springfield. Springfield's a city of firsts and the leader in Massachusetts in deploying this. It's really what everyone thinks the future of education is going to look like. Really great teachers. It's not no teachers, but a very different job. They're not standing in the lecture in front of a group of students, some of whom aren't getting it, some of whom are bored, and teaching kind of to the middle. Instead, every kid is getting instruction just where they should be. And I think, it leaps beyond what you see in a private school in the sense that this day and age, it's always striking when you go to schools how different it looks than the way we work at home or the way we work at work, where we're able to find the information we want on the internet. We're able to, the kids are being guided. They're not being asked to wander around and go to sites. That's not the idea. But, the idea that software plays such a big role in how we do things in our lives. We expect that when we're making a hotel reservation, when we're paying our credit card bills, when we're learning on about anything we want to learn on, study on, or catch up on. And schools, are just starting to catch up to that, and it's exciting to see it. And what the zone enables is really just the great educators who were here. Colleen O'Connor was the principal before the zone got set up. These math teachers were here before. It's not about changing the people. It's about helping them make the choices that they think are working the best for kids. I love seeing how excited the math teachers, veteran math teachers, are about this. This is not about making people do what they don't want to do. They feel like they can't imagine going back, which is cool. So part of what the Empowerment Zone does, it's mostly just empowering the educators at the schools to make the decisions, but the zone does have a modest budget and has been able to also help raise some philanthropy from great local partners, Davis Foundation and other business interests who've stepped forward to help with something like a new idea like this, where there was some first-year expenses, extra training, more equipment, and so forth. But over time, one of the things that's really amazing about these zone schools is that they control their entire budget. So Principal O'Connor here has a multi-million-dollar budget, and she and her teacher leadership team together can make decisions. So to the extent that they want to do more along this way and they want to spend more on software, they can look at every item in their budget and say, I'm going to afford that because I'm going to spend less on this and more on that. So they won't need sort of a gift from outside or a central office decision. They make the choices within their budget, and that's why it's sustainable. I mean, it was exciting to come back and have the opportunity to work on the schools in particular, and Mayor Sarno had been the mayor in the last year or two of the control board, so I knew him well. Superintendent Warwick had been here for his whole career, but hadn't been the superintendent. It was fun to get to know him better. I mean, the thing that strikes me is that, yeah, it does feel like it's on the up curve. I think the level of optimism and confidence is much higher. You know, I think that's partly stability. This is a particularly stable place. I think the benefits of having a superintendent from the community, I'm just talking about the school side now for a second, you know, I've come to appreciate just how different that is than when you have people who come and go from other places. There's advantages to that, but there's also a big price you pay, you know, versus someone who's known and understands how to get stuff done. I also think, you know, there's just generally been I think a growing confidence here. That's the piece that makes me happiest for Springfield. I grew up in a place like Springfield, Buffalo, New York. You know, a city, the second sort of city it's in New York City in New York State, and it's a long distance between that. Just like here, I think Boston sort of gets all the energy and attention. You know, so I know what it's like. A city that was great in its era and then lost a lot of industrial base. Same in Buffalo and here. But I think what you can start to see is when the city, you know, starts to turn itself around and people believe in themselves and they start to grow their way out. And I really think you're seeing that in Springfield. So it's fun to come here. And I just would want to emphasize, this is Springfield doing this for itself. We're here to help. We've catalyzed a couple things. I've got, you know, plenty of pride about our role. But you know what's so great is just to see it's all Springfield folks, you know, stepping up and growing their game and taking on the challenges and raising expectations for themselves and students and others. And when that happens, you can imagine how this can really become a virtuous cycle.